Okay, so this is for all you YouTubers out there. I'm going to try to do a video on a typical outlet, on what I've learned over the course of my years of doing electrical. And what we have here is a typical residential outlet with 12 gauge wiring. And what I have here is enough about a foot out of the wall, but we only need about 4 or 5 inches, about like that much, about as much as my clippers here. And what we do is just insert the blade up onto the Romex and then slice down. Get your hands out of the way at the last part of it. So stick it up into the hole, come down, move your hand out of the way, and then slice down. So what you have is just a split into the Romex like that. And so I push it all the way back with my finger, and then I insert my blade into the back of the box, and I cut it. And this kind of method right here is the easiest versus trying to cut it on both sides, on the top and bottom, way in the back there, to try to get the sheathing pulled back as much as possible so that you have full and free, clear access to the wiring. And I apologize for all the echo-ness in the audio, but it's an empty house, so it's going to have a lot of echo. And so what we have there is all the wires stripped apart, and I kind of just start with the neutrals, or I mean the grounds, and I pull them up out of the way, and then I'll strip just a small amount, about a ½ inch or so of the wiring on each wire. And this is where the wire net's going to go, because I don't like to use both screws on the outlet. I like to just use one screw and pigtail it to all these others. So I need 3 wire nuts, and in this case I'm going to use these small tan wire nuts. Okay, and so I take some of this cutoff of the wire that I had. As you can see there was just about, I don't know, 5 or 6 inches of wire, which is just about what I'll need to complete this. So we just pull the wires out of that sheathing, okay? And you take your strippers, and it has a hole in there, and then you just turn the wire to where it has a hook on it, okay? We'll grab the outlet. I typically do the ground first, okay? So we loop the hook around there, and then you slide it towards the back of the outlet, of the screw, I mean, to the left, and then it just wraps around, basically just like that. And then as you tighten that, it'll twist further. So what I have is a multi-tool with a square bit, and that's what goes inside of this ground lug, okay? And if you see there, it doesn't want to necessarily go all the way in. So you just pinch it a little bit more, and then you can see it goes into that area there nicely. Now, okay, so after I've twisted the wires and I've gone clockwise around the terminal, so, looking at the screw head, you want to go clockwise, which is around this way, and you wrap the wires around like you see on the ground there, and then the pigtails are all in. You do that on both wires, and the pigtails are all in, and you just fold it like an accordion back into the wall, right? Shoving those wires back into the wall like that. And then on this part of it, you roll your hand underneath the outlet, and you create a crease that way, and you force those wires to get a bend in it. Okay, so they kind of fold back against the outlet, and then you fold that outlet in. It's kind of important that you don't bundle the wires up on any one side of the outlet. And the reason why is because it will cause the outlet to turn, and it won't exactly lay flat against the wall. there's a bunch of wire on one side. So you want the outlet to more or less be flat up against the wall and not turned. Because when we put the decora style faceplate on, which is what we have here, it's a decora faceplate, we put that up against the wall and you want it to be flush. So once again, on my multi-tool, which is important, you have the square end for the outlets, you pull the other end to get the flathead, and then you just use the flathead portion of it to screw in the outlet. Okay, so as I'm putting this in, I can tell that the outlet is not quite sitting right, that it's a little bit high here and it's a little bit low here. You see that? And so what we're gonna do is pull the outlet back apart, pull the faceplate back off. And down here on the bottom, I'm just gonna take that flathead and turn it out just a little bit. And so what you'll see that the outlet's just a little bit loose, but when you put the faceplate on, it's going to hold that outlet up against the wall nicely. And of course, you know, the mudding has to be all good too. And then you'll have a good installation. Now in this case, the outlet isn't quite sitting straight. So the wall is not very flat for the outlet to sit onto. So we're just gonna keep pulling this out just a little bit so that it comes out. And then we're gonna screw this top one in just slightly to draw that in. And then you just keep working with it until you get it to where it is flat. And level, of course. And you want to leave your screw heads where they're straight up. Okay? So straight up and down. So if you see that outlet like that, it doesn't push in too much and it sits flush. You don't want to crank down on those too hard. If you crank down on them too hard, you hear some cracking. You just want to back them off just a little bit and get that as flush as possible. And then when you plug it in, it's not gonna break the outlet or anything, but it has some flex to it. That's pretty common. And that's good.